Joining me now is Dr. Shamika Ravi, the author of the said working paper and also member of the PM's Economic Advisory Council. Thank you, Dr. Ravi, for speaking to NDTV. Your main argument in this paper is that India has welcomed diversity, allowing minority groups to thrive. Now, this has not been the case in India's immediate neighborhood. In the time frame that you have selected, while the population of Hindus has grown 3 times, that of Muslims has grown by 5 times. Now, is India the only outlier where the share of majority population has declined? What about the other countries, since you have also studied 160 countries across the world, and also tell us what made you attempt this paper?
So the reason we did this is, first of all, I must be honest, there is this novel data set that came to my attention that actually looks at demographic across religious lines, changes over long time period. Though 65 years doesn't seem that long if you consider, countries, but 167 countries, we are able to just look at what is happening to share of minority. Now, there are many things that go into the final outcome of whether the share is growing or declining. We are abstracting away from that. We are just saying that, if the environment is conducive and policies are supportive, then you are going to see growth in minority population in countries. And we do in fact find that India is an anomaly in the neighborhood because it is following the trends of Western liberal democracies. Plural democracies, where you are seeing substantial increase in proportion of minority population or a decline in the majority population. Now, if you look at just the neighborhood, then the only other country where you see a majority decline or a minority increase is Myanmar, where you have seen the Buddhist population and a particular Theravada Buddhism fall by 10%. But all other countries in the neighborhood, whether you look at Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Afghanistan, Bhutan, so not necessarily just Muslim countries, but across the neighborhood, these are countries where the size of the minority in terms of the share have fallen alarmingly. And I think that makes India's experience of the last 65 years even more remarkable.
That's interesting, Dr. Ravi. So what explains the differential rates of growth within the country? Fertility rates in Tamil Nadu or Kerala are quite different from the same in, say, states like Bihar and Uttar Pradesh.
Well, the share in the population, Vasudha, is not just fertility. Of course, we have differential fertility. One is across religious lines, and we are seeing convergence, etc. But it will also vary across states and regions. So first of all, we will have to look at much more granular sort of evidence on what is happening in terms of changes. But I think more importantly, it's not fertility alone. There are many other factors that lead to this final outcome of a share of minority growing. It could be migration, as you are seeing in the case of Europe. Countries of Europe have seen a very significant, dramatic decline in share of majority religion. Places like France and all have seen almost close to 30% decline in majority over the last 65 years. So migration is a predominant factor there. Then, of course, conversion. You're also seeing significant conversions happen across different parts of the world and including in India. And, if you look at Africa, for instance, and the reason I say conversion is because in Africa, Vasudha, in the beginning, the baseline year of 1950, there were 24 countries which had animism, right? These are indigenous religions. These are not monotheistic religions. 24 countries had animism as the main or the majority religion. And in 65 years, today, none of those 24 countries have animism as a majority or a main religion. So, there is conversion. There is, of course, conversion as a factor too. So it's a combination of fertility differences, migration, and conversion.
Dr. Ravi, we've also noticed a decline in fertility rates across the country and across all religious groups in the last 20 years. Now, the rate of decline is even faster in those states which were lagging behind earlier. So what is it that you would say is working now?
I wouldn't just say working, Vasudha. I mean, these are empirical questions. This might very well be extremely troubling too, but these are empirical questions. We will have to now look at what exactly is the region and religion and etc. So we have to see declining urban-rural differences are there. So there are many urban pockets where fertility rates are significantly lower than our national level, which is just a little below replacement rate. It's around 2.01, I think, was the last projection. So we are below fertility, the replacement rate, which is, I think, expected. But the rate at which it's declining further, I think we need to now study it much more, across regions, religions, etc. Because eventually we are also thinking, demography is a very important, people build nations. So I think we will have to study this problem of crashing fertility very closely.
Thank you, Dr. Ravi, for speaking to NDTV. That was Dr. Shamika Ravi, economist, who has also co-authored the paper titled Share of Religious Minorities, findings of which we are discussing.